Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the live stream here on the channel. Let's see who we have in here today. Let's see, I'm going to try to start from the top. I'm going to go all the way up here. Thank you, Catman, for being a member for 7 months. Much appreciated. Thank you for the kind words as well. Glad to have you in the community. And yeah, let's welcome to the stream, of course. We have Chip here, Legacy, Catman, Samuel Wilkinson. Let's see, Sam, Indiana. Haley edits, Nebraska, Shannon, Storm Dakota, thank you for the kind words, as well as the exact same months of membership as Catman for 7 months, being an EF2 member. Glad to have you in the community as well. Let's see. Oh, no. You put the pronunciations in there. Psycor, welcome to the stream. Probably still butchered it. Let's see, Mr. Tank's in here, Caden, and Proxy, as well as everybody else who is in the live stream that may be chatting or may not be chatting, and I missed you. Glad to have you in the stream. Let's switch on over. Already 3 minutes in here, and I just finished the intro. All right, I got to get this chat to the bottom, and I got to set this chat so I can see everybody, because YouTube has that feature, so sometimes it doesn't show everybody's comments. Alrighty. Did I see the wind speed rating from the tornado from Milton? Oh, I see what you're saying. I saw the one that was rated high in EF3, if that's the one you're talking about. I did see that. I did see that one. But yeah, let's go dive right on into this with the National Hurricane Center's outlook. So we last talked about, well, at this point, 3 days ago, or was it 2 days ago? I believe it was 2 or 3 days ago. And that thumbnail actually ended up verifying because we do have an area of interest here and an area of interest here. So both the areas that we were talking about in our last live stream actually ended up getting highlighted from the National Hurricane Center. We do have a 60% chance for a tropical storm to form. This is probably going to be the main one we focus on in this live stream because it has a very surreal chance of becoming a tropical storm or hurricane in the near future later on this week. And it will also be the one that will impact land as potentially a tropical storm or greater. This one out here, it could form into a tropical storm, but I really highly doubt it. I really highly doubt it. The GFS, we mentioned that in the last live stream, the GFS likes to spin up vorticity blobs too quickly, and that results in the GFS, wanting category 3s and 4s 250 hours out. And once that 250 hours out got to about 3 days out, we barely had any other model run showing that. So the NHC really didn't highlight much until today, when they decided to highlight this for a 20% chance of formation, just in case we do manage to see something try to form there. But regardless of if it forms or not, we're going to be seeing some heavy rainfall and potentially some flash flooding out there in Central America into Mexico. So we'll keep tabs on that, but I don't think it's going to be like some, something we really have to watch for tropical development in the future. And yeah, this is going to be the one we're really going to keep an eye on. So let's take y'all over to everybody's favorite model run here, GFS model run. I'm sure everyone loves this model. Totally the most accurate model run out there. So let's go ahead and pull this on out. Okay, I guess I'm gonna do this here, so that way you guys can see most of the map, but I can also move it forward in time here. So there's what's currently 94L, and here's our vorticity blob that is currently highlighted from the NHC as a 20% chance of formation in this general area here. So as we go on time, just keep an eye on that L here and this little notch area here. So let's go ahead and pull this on out, and you'll see that low pressure forms pretty quick on the GFS model run. You can see it at down to a 10-10 millibar, 10-9, but never really gets its act together, at least on the 12Z model run. It does try its best to get to tropical storm status, maybe last second tropical storm status on the GFS model run. That is a bit of a stretch. I don't personally think that will happen. And then it causes, like I said, some flash flooding issues, some heavy rainfall over Central America, the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, and then it might go into the EPAC. Even if it goes into the EPAC, I highly doubt it will actually end up forming. Yeah, they don't have an AOI out there yet. If they do get an AOI out there, though, in the EPAC, we'll keep an eye on that just in case this tries to spin up in the Eastern Pacific there. Now I want to go back here. You could see how far out we are in time right here, just to give you a general idea. So 24 hours out. Because of the time the model run actually initiated, this would be 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So the GFS really has a tropical storm trying to form here in the Caribbean around the time frame of the afternoon to evening hours of October 18th. For both of these systems, actually, the GFS has both of these systems forming into a tropical storm almost at the exact same time here. 108 hours out for both of these systems trying to spin up into a tropical storm. And then if we look beyond that, I just want to take you guys all the way out to the end of the model run. There's really not a whole lot the GFS model run shows. We'll see if we get a period of more active tropical weather in like the last week of October. But I think we're going to be dealing with these two areas, specifically this area right here. Probably for near a week, we're going to be talking about this little low pressure here. And then we should be hopefully in a little inactive phase from like October 24th-ish all the way till the end of October. And I think we'll pick back up in the first week of November. And we might be potentially done with hurricane season at the end of the first week of November. We do have a favorability, or at least a favorable environment in the first week of November. But after that, I'm pretty sure it's going to be decreasing. So hopefully the first or second week of November, we'll start to see the page where the NHC looks like this for the Atlantic. Hopefully that will happen sooner, but I don't really expect it to look like this. 7 days we're not expecting any tropical activity until we get towards like mid-November. So yeah, let me just go ahead and take you guys to some more data here. This is what currently looks like 94L currently looks like. You can see a lot of lower level circulation here, but there's just one blob of convection that's trying its hardest to form around that circularized low pressure center. It's just not really doing too well there, is it? It looks like it's trying to get up on a Monday morning over here for school. It's just not able to get up because it's literally it tries to get up and then it dies right out. And here it's gonna try again. There's just more and more dry air and wind shear, specifically dry air that continues to choke it off. So Yeah, let me go back over to this page here so I could show you guys the general tracks we're looking at. This is your 94L GFS model run for 12Z. We do have 18Z models in, but not for the 18Z GFS yet. You can see this is really nearly locked in. I mean, we are models and ensembles are very confident that this will be heading into, near Puerto Rico in the northern Lesser Antilles. However, after that, there is definitely a question mark. Some models want this to go out to sea. I don't see any of those anymore, but when I looked earlier this morning, there was a handful that wanted this to go out to sea. Some other models and ensembles are going to want this to go in towards like the Central Caribbean. And I don't know what this model run's doing, but it's wanting like a Category 4. I don't know what the heck that ensemble's doing. Look at that. I wish I could individually look at the ensembles, because that is probably one of the dumbest ensembles I've ever seen. That's crazy. That's not going to happen. We're not going to end up seeing a Category 4 in the Eastern Caribbean. I can tell you that. But I do want to go over here and show you the HWRF model run does actually have a Category 4 happening. We'll dive a little bit more into that later. It's in a different area for a Category 4, but the HWRF, I might have said MON, the HWRF has a Category 4, almost Category 5 hurricane. But notice how it's a very much outlier. It's the only one that makes it into major hurricane status with 94L. The majority of these have it getting towards tropical storm status to maybe Category 1 hurricane status. And then we also have a good chunk that just flatline this thing and don't form it at all. So I would definitely count the HWRF model run out. However, it still might be at least somewhat of a possibility. We'll see if it brings down the intensity mark on the 12Z models tomorrow. The 00Z model runs tonight. But, I mean, the HWRF model run, it was an outlier for Barrel, and it nailed Barrel quite well. So we'll see what it ends up nailing with this system. It's probably going to end up being dead wrong. It just depends on how much land interaction we have with this system. Because if this system stays over water like it is now, and it continues over water like this or so, it will have a better opportunity of strengthening. But if this ends up going over like, Puerto Rico, and it's over the Dominican Republic and goes over Cuba, it's going to have a very low chance of forming just due to that land interaction. The GFS ensembles here, they really get it going as it goes north of Jamaica. I want to switch over to the other model runs too. These are all your model runs that we normally look at individually combined into just one plot. And like I said, you could really see some agreement here. I mean, there's not really much disagreement on where this system's going to go. You, of course, do have a bit of spread as you get just to the northwest of Puerto Rico. Some of these models take it over the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Others take it towards the Bahamas. And your HWRF model run, I believe, is going to take that right near Cuba, just barely north of Haiti. So basically, long story short, just to interpret all these model runs into kind of one thinking here, I would definitely go with more of this minus this one ensemble here. So we know that we're going to end up seeing a tropical system move westward. It's going to try its best to form into a tropical storm near or west of Puerto Rico. But in terms of impacts and exact intensity, there's definitely a big question mark in that due to how far out we are. Personally, I don't think this will have a chance to form until it gets towards the northwest of the Lesser Antilles. I don't see any development happening in this area here. I think we're going to have to, this system's going to have to go all the way towards near the Lesser Antilles, if not west, in order to actually try and form. And I want to go to your HWRF model run, show you guys what that shows here. This is your HWRF model run, like I just said. We'll pull this on out, and you can see it really gets development going here quite far to the northeast of the Lesser Antilles. So the HWRF model run shows it developing generally like right where my cursor is. It gets to tropical storm status, and then you can see me pulling this out further here. It gets to Category 1 status here on the morning of the 18th, Category 2 on the afternoon of the 18th, Cat 3 on the evening of the 18th, and then it gets to Category 4 overnight on the 18th into the morning of the 19th. like I said, keeps it just north of Puerto Rico, just north of the Dominican Republic. It doesn't go out any further than this, but this shows a very well formed hurricane north of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Personally, I think that's like the absolute worst case scenario here. There's a much better chance that we end up seeing something like what the HWRF shows, which is this system tries its best to get organized, but it ultimately fails. And boom, it's gone. So I really, um, I would definitely give this area of interest a better chance of forming if it can stay north of the Lesser Antilles and north of Puerto Rico, north of the Dominican Republic. If it ends up taking that too far south track, it's just going to end up having too much land interaction and dying out. But yeah, again, if you're just tuning in, this is your GFS ensembles 12Z. And they really don't show much development. I mean, you could see maybe one or two of these develop near Puerto Rico, but the majority of these are going to wait until it gets into the North Central Caribbean, which I don't even know if it's going to be able to make it that far, honestly. I mean, if we go to like your European model run, let's zoom out some. I don't want to do this like when it's so zoomed in. Yeah, let's go to this. This is your 12Z European model run, and you can see it takes it right out to sea. The European model run does have it barely getting to tropical storm status north of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But it, like I said, it doesn't make it into the Central Caribbean. So, I wonder if that's an outlier. Let's go ahead and take a look at like your CMC model run. There's your CMC model run, develops a tropical storm and eventually a borderline, if not hurricane, just to the north of the Dominican Republic. And then it takes it out to sea as well. Go to your NavGem model run, which I personally don't like. That takes a tropical storm just barely to the northwest of Jamaica. And then it ends up forming into a pretty well-organized tropical storm west of Jamaica as we go into October 21st. Icon model run looks to show... Let's see, that's the wrong one. Looks to show tropical storm, borderline hurricane as well, north of the Dominican Republic. So there's definitely quite a bit of uncertainty after this goes like west of Puerto Rico. I don't think we'll see much development before then. Northeast of the Lesser Antilles, unless something major changes, which definitely could happen. It happens all the time. Happened with Beryl. It could happen with literally any system. So, just not a lot of signals pointing towards this developing, northeast of the Lesser Antilles here. Most of our models are going to wait until this gets northwest of Puerto Rico. Let's see. Go over to your European ensembles. European ensembles, 240 hours out. 12Z. Let's flop it over here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, this is going to be your 12Z European ensembles, and not really much more certainty on this. This is actually a quite larger spread in terms of where this is going to track. I mean, on our other model runs and our GFS ensembles, it seemed a lot more tight and compact with this. Your European ensembles seem to go anywhere from very far north of the Lesser Antilles to pretty much over the Lesser Antilles. And only a few of these actually develop it. The majority of these develop it as it goes north towards the open Atlantic Ocean. So we'll just have to monitor the trend very closely. There's definitely a good chance that this develops eventually into a tropical storm. But it's very difficult to say exactly where it's going to track and who it's going to impact. But if you are out here in, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, the Northern Lesser Antilles, Dominican Republic, Haiti, I would definitely be keeping a close eye on this system. You can see the AOI is kind of curved up to the northeast. See how it looks more straight here. And then it kind of takes that more northern turn up here. So The NHC is definitely hinting at the potential for this to take a more sharp northward turn, but we'll see. Just going to keep a very close eye on it. That is for sure. It's currently at a 60% chance of tropical development in the next 7 days, 10% chance in the next 48 hours. The 48-hour chance might increase slightly. But like I said, personally, I don't see this developing until we get like northwest of the Lesser Antilles, and there's a lot of uncertainty on the track as we get west of Puerto Rico. So it's just going to be a waiting game until we get to that turning point. With every single system, it seems like we have a specific point that we have a lot of uncertainty, at. So with this one, it's going to be right around Puerto Rico, the Lesser Antilles. With Beryl, I believe Beryl's uncertainty point was in the Eastern Caribbean. Helene's uncertainty was just simply if it was going to hit the Yucatan Peninsula or not. I'm trying to think of any other ones. Debbie's uncertainty was if it was going to stay over Cuba or go north of Cuba. Francine's uncertainty was if it was going to even develop in the Caribbean, which it never actually ended up doing. So every system has a lot of uncertainty with it. Some just have more than others. I do want to go over to this site. Let me go over here, this one right here, and I want to go to tropical cyclones. This is another good site that we use in order to determine how much uncertainty we have in a system. And there's your GFS ensemble tracks. You can see they are very confident in this thing tracking up to the west, all the way up towards and near or north of the Lesser Antilles. And then after that, you can see those colors start to fade off, and there's a lot more uncertainty. You can see the deterministic GFS model run in the red. It takes a very, very sharp northward turn. The European model run takes that northward turn. It's not on here, but the European model run takes a more northward turn like this. Much sooner, and also much more north than what the GFS has it taking that northward turn as. So just going to be keeping an eye on it, but we're not going to see any development out of this thing out in this area here. You can see that from the NHC's website. They don't have any development in this area, or at least this little area here. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised they have that AOI so far eastward. Let's see what they say here. A tropical depression could form as it begins to move westward and approaches or moves near the the Leeward Islands late this week. So they're saying late this week we could see a tropical depression form. Conditions become more favorable in the middle portion to the latter portion of this week. So looks like really we're definitely going to have the best opportunity late this week. That's when we'll have our best chance, probably from, probably from like Thursday, Friday, and on. Thursday is probably going to be the day where we could see some very, very minimal development. I don't think we'll see a lot, but we'll just keep an eye on it. That's what we have to do, right? That's what we have to do every time a system forms. We just got to keep an eye on it and wait. It's always a watch and wait games with tropics because they take so stinking long to form and also are very slow. I mean, it takes like 2 weeks from a system to get from Africa all the way towards the Gulf of Mexico. So it's always more of a waiting game. As for what I think's handling this the best, there's a lot of uncertainty northwest of Puerto Rico, but I'm probably gonna have to. Jeez, I don't know. I'd say the GFS is probably like one of the more likely outcomes. However, I think the GFS might actually be developing it too fast. It's gonna depend on the location of that high pressure. Because the GFS model run, it has your high pressure more north into pretty much southern Pennsylvania. Your ICON model run has that into Southwest Virginia. Your European model run has that in Southwest Virginia as well. So it's going to depend on exactly where that high pressure is located. If the high pressure is more north, that could result in this system going closer to the Western Caribbean. If that high pressure is more south, it could result in the high pressure actually getting attached to our are low pressure and ended up pulling it out to sea. For instance, like what your European model one shows, where that high pressure digs more to the south, and it ends up pulling our low pressure. There's our low pressure. It pulls it up straight up to the northeast. Straight up to the northeast. So just got to be a watch and wait game. But regardless, if you are in this general vicinity here, I highly suggest you just keep an eye on the tropics just in case this system does end up forming. And like I said, as for this AOI down here, it has a chance to form, but it doesn't have nearly as much model support as what it once did. I mean, the CMC shows a very brief low pressure forming here, and really all that has opportunity to is just cause a lot of rain in the Yucatan Peninsula area. Your Icon model run also has a low pressure that develops, but it just doesn't have enough water time and enough development time to actually get its act together. The Navgem also has not really a formed low pressure, but you can kind of see the indent on where the low pressure would be if it did have a low pressure on this model run. And of course, your GFS model run also has that low pressure forming, just barely potentially getting to tropical storm status there. This is your newest GFS model run, by the way. This is your 12Z here. So I don't think we'll see development out of this system, but regardless, we're going to be seeing some rainfall and some potentially some flash flooding out here in Central America, Mexico, Yucatan Peninsula. So even if it doesn't develop, which I don't think it will, we could see some isolated flooding out there. And your new GFS model run actually takes a tropical storm right on into the northeastern side of the Dominican Republic. And then it takes the low pressure into the Central Caribbean, where it stalls out thanks to that high pressure way off to its north. It just has a funny setup. And we got a high pressure here. We got a low pressure here. We got a low pressure here. We have our tropical system here. There's a lot of moving parts on our GFS model run there. Yeah, that's gonna, the more moving parts we have, the more room for uncertainty we're gonna have. Especially if you end up getting 3 low pressures out there. I mean, your Icon model run has literally just a high pressure up here and a low pressure here. Your GFS model run just spits out an extra 3 low pressures. Interesting. But yeah, again, here's the NHC outlook. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. So that's your 2 areas we're watching. This has a very small chance of development, but regardless if it develops, we're going to be seeing some flooding potential there in Central America, Mexico, Yucatan Peninsula. This system here should take a while to develop. I really don't think we'll see much east of the Lesser Antilles. Our main day to really start watching the system will be Thursday. Thursday will be the day that this starts to approach the eastern side of the Lesser Antilles, and we'll see where it goes from there. There's a good chance it just continues off to the west, but we'll have that high pressure somewhere generally in this area here, and that could end up either, depending on how far south that is, it could end up either pulling this more to the north, or if our high pressure is towards, like, I don't know, central Pennsylvania, southern New York, that high pressure would have less influence, allowing for this system to kind of just gradually go more to the south, like what your GFS model run has. So yeah, definitely a lot of scenarios there. That's always what the uncertainty is with these systems. The further you get out in time, the more uncertainty there's going to be. So, yeah. We'll just continue to keep an eye on it. Like I said, there's your European ensembles, which show that quite a lot of uncertainty, like I said, north of Puerto Rico. Barely, if any, development east of the Lesser Antilles. I really think there's There's really only like one model run that actually shows good development northeast of the Lesser Antilles. Like your GFS barely has it developing northeast of the Lesser Antilles. Same for your CMC, same for your Icon, and your European model run barely has anything there. The only model run that really develops it northeast of the Lesser Antilles is the HWRF, which is why I think we should just, you know, see if the HWRF downtrends, but still keep in mind what the HWRF is showing, because that is what our high-end potential with this system is. I'll show you that again. Here's your intensity guidance. This is your least likely outcome up here. High in Cat 4. Most likely outcome is we see this thing get into tropical storm status and then end up fizzling out at some point. But definitely a lot of model spread here, anywhere from a category 4 all the way down to literally not even a tropical depression. So we'll see. We'll see. This looks to be right in here where the majority of your models are. Kind of at tropical storm status in this general vicinity here. You can see a bit of a cluster of them right there. But then again, you also have a very large cluster that don't develop this. So we'll see. I mean, it's just a lot of uncertainty. I don't want to get too ahead and start calling for like a hurricane hitting somewhere. I definitely do not want to do that, but I got very distracted because I thought this thing was trying to explode and more convection there. So there's your low pressure right here, I believe. I can't tell too well. I think that's your low pressure right there. So this convection is off to the northwest. This convection is pretty far off to the northeast. Not doing too well. That's 94L out there, right where that X is from the NHC. A little bit more west of where that X is, because that X was, what, 5 hours ago? 4 or 5 hours? 4 or 5 hours ago. I can't count. But yeah, let me just pull this back on out to the Western Atlantic. Wow, your GFS model run's just going to get this thing to sit out there in the Caribbean for a while. I mean, look at that. It just stalls out southwest of Haiti, east of Jamaica. There's definitely a lot of uncertainty west of Puerto Rico. I can tell you that. But I do want to clear this up too. In terms of this heading towards the U.S., it's a legit impossible for this to head towards the lower 48, because we have a very large high pressure that is going to be in place thanks to a trough ejection that's going to leave. We'll have a high pressure built in behind that, and that high pressure is legit going to be a big old wall in this general vicinity here. Now, we could see this thing go as far as the Bahamas. I don't think the NHC has their AOI. Oh, they do have that AOI as far as the Bahamas, actually. So we could see this thing go as far west as the Bahamas, but in terms of this directly hitting Florida or the southern U.S., that's completely out of the question now. Same goes for this system too, because we're starting to nail down that high pressure is going to build in very soon. I mean, that high pressure is going to be in place in less than 3 days, actually. About 2.5, just under 3 days from now, we're going to have that high pressure build in. The reason why for that, if I go ahead and show you guys College of DuPage really fast. College of DuPage, GFS model run, Continental United States, 500 millibar wind speeds. And there you go. So this is your GFS model run. I know you guys can only see like just partially on this. Let's go over here. This might be better. Aha! Better. It's better. I remembered. So yeah, this is your big trough ejection here, fully positively tilted, that means no severe weather with it. At least this time of year, positive tilted trough like that, not going to cause severe weather, but it is going to bring a heck load of cool weather, I can tell you that. That trough is really going to hurry out of here quite quickly, and we'll see that high pressure build in very, very fast. You can see that big dominant high pressure that moves into the central United States on the afternoon of Thursday, pushes more to the east as we go into Friday, and then that high pressure it doesn't sit there for too long. It kind of just meanders around the mid-Atlantic area and into the southeastern side of the U.S. And then eventually it gets pushed out by another trough. That's what we call weather. Weather. You keep having these low pressures and high pressures. They keep switching spots. In terms of what this is going to bring to the U.S., this big trough, it's really just going to bring cooler temperatures. I think this is going to show it probably the best, maybe. Yeah, that's your surface temperature anomaly, so you can see most of most of the eastern side of the U.S. is going to be cooler than normal. In terms of your actual temperatures, a lot of us are going to be into the low 40s, upper 30s. Some of us, especially in New York, could even get into the 20s as we go into Thursday morning. That's October 17th. Um, Cold temps are mainly going to stick around here, at least in the mid-Atlantic. You're going to start really feeling the move in tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, and then they're going to continue to drop Wednesday morning. Thursday morning will probably be the coldest morning. Then Friday, and then eventually we get that high pressure to move in as we go into Saturday, but it still keeps it relatively cool out there in Virginia. I mean, our low overnight's about the mid 40s there. But your main cold day is probably going to end up being Thursday morning. That's going to be your big cool day out here for most of the eastern United States. Let's see here. Yeah, and then there's 500 millibar trough, and you can see that high pressure moves in. And that's going to hopefully warm up our temperatures just a little bit, but it's still going to keep it relatively nice out there. And then beyond that, I mean, it's just going to be fantasy land after that. I don't want to go any further than that. Also, of course, our system, we've been talking about this for not that long, but I've mentioned it a few times here and there. Snow for the northeastern side of the U.S. is going to occur tomorrow. I don't think we're going to see much accumulation out of it, but definitely higher areas, especially in like east of Watertown, New York. You guys are probably going to be getting some accumulation out of this. And then far northern Vermont, far northern New Hampshire, you could see some accumulation. Maybe we could see some spotty accumulations on the far western Appalachians. Most likely limited to like eastern West Virginia and extreme far western North Carolina. But that won't be sticking around long. We're not going to be staying at the 30-degree point at all out here in West Virginia or North Carolina. So if that snow does somehow manage to stick, it won't be around for much longer than probably a full day cycle. I mean, I imagine that's going to melt very fast. Yeah, here's your snow depth, and you can see it melts very, very fast. I mean, you get it, and then it immediately starts to melt. So, yeah, about to break my neck looking over there at that at that model run. I might end up having to make a new scene for this here where I can push my screen over more. Because I don't remember it being this far to the left. But we've been doing so much tropics, I probably adjusted it for that reason. TRG, is there a possibility I get lake effect flurries? No. No. Not for you. No snow for you. Here is the weather advisory, by the way. Oh, not weather advisories. What the heck? Where did it go? You guys did just never... Oh, there you go. The watches, warnings, and advisories from the National Weather Service. Big time freeze is going to be infiltrating the central side of the U.S. Just a freeze. So probably just want to take a jacket if you get up early tomorrow. If you're anywhere in this general area here. Pennsylvania, I don't know what that is. A frost advisory. Okay, that's a frost advisory, but all this dark blue is freeze, so that doesn't mean snow. It just literally means a big drop in temperatures, aka a cold front. Haley, you'll get snow sometime in 2025. I can guarantee it. Wait, I don't know if I can guarantee it. You will have a good chance at seeing snow in 2025. I want to go to your the HWRF model run. Now, someone who I'd be shocked at seeing no snow is Caleb. I'd be blown away if Caleb does not see snow this winter season. I mean, gracious, he's probably in one of the best positions to see snow this winter season. The lucky people or unlucky people this winter season who are probably going to end up with the most snow is going to be like northern Ohio, right where Proxima is, and western Michigan, right around these areas here. Because we're going to have cooler weather, we're going to have more rain, we're going to have more, probably a chance for some better troughs, more frequent troughs. At least with the very weak La Nina we should head into. So these areas, you know, south of Chicago, areas that normally see lake effect, you're going to have the best opportunity. Also, probably in Ontario as well. Those few areas there. And then, of course, we're definitely gonna see a good snowstorm that passes through somewhere in this area. It just depends on where the low pressure will be. I mentioned that in my winter forecast. We're eventually gonna see a big snowstorm somewhere, somewhere in this area. Most snow I've seen is exactly 11.9 inches in 2022. Well, that's not bad at all. I don't know the pattern that we were in 2022. I didn't really forecast much. That's when I was just really starting to, you know, learn weather, take it more seriously. Because before like 2022, I didn't have much weather softwares. I really didn't know a whole lot about weather. But I've always been, I've always loved weather. You're not going to see snow out of this little system. I don't even know what you could call this system. It's not like a clipper. It's just going to bring the first little bit of snow that some areas have seen. Oh, look at that. That's your potential for severe weather. We will have a potential severe weather event. We're going to be monitoring October 20th and October 21st. Potentially even into October 22nd as well, for the potential of severe weather generally in this area here in the US. At the moment, it looks to be very low. We shouldn't see much instability in the area, and as we all know, instability is it's one of the main, if not the main factor for thunderstorms. So no instability, you're really not going to be looking at a severe weather threat. So we could have some limited instability out there, and that's what could end up bringing a very small severe weather threat somewhere in this general area here. If that was more south, we would end up with a big snowstorm, but unfortunately, it's not going to be far enough south, and areas in like far northern Ontario are going to end up with a big snowstorm. You can see areas up there. GFS model run has just under 2 feet of snow being possible, so don't worry, our time will come. Eventually, we're going to end up seeing this type of potential somewhere in this general area here. I mean, it's literally the beginning of October. If we don't see a snowstorm somewhere in this area by the time we go into early February, it's not gonna happen. There's no way we don't end up with snow between now and February in this area. Let's see. You're not gonna get snow, Catman. Nope, you never get snow. Legacy, you're in a big toss-up season. I'm sure you already know that. I swear, Legacy, you and I were always in toss-up seasons. If you live in Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, those are like the 4 areas that I swear we are always in a toss-up. It is always toss-up. It's either you get nothing or you end up with a snowstorm. Out here in North Carolina, Virginia, me and Lucky got nothing. Kentucky, Tennessee, you guys got that big snowstorm last year. So it's going to be the same case. No offense, Legacy, but I want the snowstorm this year. It's mine. It's mine. I'm getting the snowstorm, not you. I do want to go over to the HRRR here because I want to see our accumulations here. I want to see how much that changed from the 12Z. I mean, we could see some lake effect. Where is that? That's like right... That's like near Jamestown, New York. We'll see if we end up with some snow out there. That's possible, but I mean, it varies so much from model run to model run. I mean, look at that. There's your NAM 3K, HRRR, RAP, GFS. I mean, man, I forgot how much I hate forecasting snow. I forgot how much I hate forecasting snowfall. The main thing you look at, or at least the main thing I look at to forecast if we're going to end up seeing any snow system soon, is this. This is the saving grace for winter. This is what makes winter at least a little enjoyable to track. This is the mean snow accumulation on your GFS ensemble. It takes all 20 of these members and compiles it into the most likely scenario. So, yeah, look at that. Actually, look at that. There might actually be a chance for some snow in Oklahoma. Never. I say that because it's at the end of the model run. See, it changed 00Z, and I'm sure it's going to change at 18Z. So, whenever you go towards like the end of it, beyond 240 frames out, you get into fantasy land. It's just like the tropics in severe weather. You can try to recognize a pattern that tries to develop off of the mean wind speeds here, as well as your wind speeds on the GFS model run. Look for any consistency, but geez, that's a trough. Man, that is a trough and a half, but limited instability. That in May would spell disaster. But it's not May. It's October. So that could bring small severe weather event. But it is 10 days out, so I definitely wouldn't bet on that happening. Did that just appear on the model runs? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I knew it. I know the GFS way too well here. It just appeared on the GFS model, so I would not be betting on that happening. That's why you don't want to look more than 200 frames out on the GFS model run for pretty much anything or any reason. But yeah, long story short, we're going to keep an eye on some potential for severe weather here in October. That's probably going to be the main area we watch for severe weather potential in October. The deep south doesn't look to be waking up anytime soon. Best chance for snow, definitely going to be up in this area over the next 48 hours or so. And in terms of tropics, I really don't think we have to worry about the tropics here in the continental 48 US, continental United States, in English. I don't think we have to worry about the tropics, but out here in Cuba, Dominican Republic, the Lesser Antilles, Leeward Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, Bahamas, I would be keeping an eye on this AOI that's currently in the south central Atlantic in the central of the main development region, and that will be moving west towards Puerto Rico. By the time we go towards like Thursday, Friday, this system's going to start nearing Puerto Rico and the northern Lesser Antilles. So, yeah, really just did the wrap up there. That's what I'd like to do at the end of all the live streams. In this area here, like I said, regardless of if it develops, I personally don't think it will develop. But regardless of if it does or not, we're going to end up seeing some very heavy rainfall and some local flash flooding out there in the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, and Central America. So we'll still keep an eye on that to see if it manages to try and spin up. The best opportunity it has for that will be, let's see, what day did I say? Probably October 17th and 18th. That's going to be its best opportunity. I personally don't think it will succeed, but we'll see. And yeah, we'll just watch the tropics. I mean, we'll just keep an eye on the weather. I'll see. I still don't think I'm going to be making a video tomorrow. I don't like to make videos unless it's like something big that I'm I'm pretty confident in happening. I might end up making a video tomorrow if this ends up looking better, more confident for a tropical storm to form. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you're very welcome to ask them in the chat. What if we get a hurricane during the winter and it hits land? How much snow are we talking? Minimal. It depends though, Kayla, because see, if we see a hurricane like hit sorry, Florida, but if we see a hurricane hit like Florida and we have this big cold front that pushes down and it manages to hit at the right moment and it turns extra tropical like all tropical systems do, I mean, theoretically, yeah, we could see like a big snowstorm. Because you'll get that cold front that could push in like that far to the southeast, and then you'll have the remnants of said tropical storm or hurricane over the Carolinas, and that would bring a lot of snow for these areas if that were to happen. But yeah, how much snow would you be talking? It depends on a lot. It depends on how cold the environment is on different layers of the atmosphere. It depends on how cold it's been recently. It depends on if it's rained in the areas recently. It depends on the speed of your extratropical system. So it depends. It depends on a lot. Most likely, though, if we see a tropical system make landfall in the U.S. in, like, say, mid-November, there's a low chance it will bring any snow. I wonder if that has happened, though. That's got me curious about extratropical systems interacting with, like, a cold front and causing a snowstorm. Wonder if that's been something before. Let's see. I'm sure that's happened. Maybe I'll research that later. I'll probably end up just forgetting them. Welcome, Brooklyn. Glad to see you. Yeah, I'll still be right where I am now, hopefully next year. I don't know what you mean by forecasting it. You definitely can't be looking into the upcoming tornado season that soon. I mean, we already have some patterns that we're recognizing. That's probably going to bring Dixie Alley back early next year. But in terms of forecasting it right now, I mean, geez, you're still, what, 5 months away from tornado season actually beginning. So just to do a briefing over everything, because I like to recap at the end of all these live streams, just in case you missed that. There is the potential for a brief tropical system to form right out in this area here on October 18th and 19th, and also into the 20th. I personally don't think it will form, but regardless of if it does form or not, it's going to be bringing heavy rainfall and flash flooding to these areas here. We're currently watching 94L located at that orange dot. It's going to be moving to the west over the next 2 to 3 days. And then after those 2 to 3 days, which will most likely end up being Thursday and on, it's going to end up somewhere up in this area. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere to the west of this black line. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to end up having a chance to form on one of those days. I don't know exactly the best time for that to form, or most likely time for that to form. It looks like probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, the 3 days I said. It looks like it has a pretty good chance to form at the end of this week into the weekend. It'll have the best opportunity to form probably barely off to the northwest of the Lesser Antilles, somewhere around the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. In terms of its exact track after that, there's a lot of uncertainty beyond like this point. Some models take it into the Central Caribbean. Other model runs take it sharp, turn it to the north and out to sea. And the GFS model run, I believe it takes it kind of straight and then a bit southwest into Jamaica, or near Jamaica. Let me pull that forward. Yeah, you can see that very close to Jamaica, and then pulls it north and then back on out to sea. So we'll continue to watch that AOI over the next few days. The main thing is, if you live in this area here, just keep an eye on the tropics. It's nothing to worry about by any means. I really don't... there's definitely a chance it forms into a tropical storm. But at the moment, I don't think we're going to see anything worse than that out of it. unless it's going to take the perfect scenario. We're going to have the perfect scenario unfold, like what your HWRF model run shows, where this develops a core east of the Lesser Antilles and it stays north of land interaction. That's another thing. If this hits like the Lesser Antilles, that could completely disrupt the actual low pressure. And then in return, it completely gets rid of most of its chance of actually forming. I don't know if any model one actually shows that, but a lot of our hurricane models barely show this thing forming. For instance, like your HMON model, if we bring this out, it never really gets to form it, and then it just disappears over south of Puerto Rico near the Dominican Republic. And very cold weather for this whole area of the United States. If you're anywhere in here, which I'm sure you are, we're going to end up with some cold weather. Especially if you're in the northeastern side of the U.S., you could end up into the upper 20s as we go into Thursday morning. Snowfall will mainly be limited to the far northern side of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, northwestern Maine, but we could see some lake effect snowfall generally in this area here as we go into tomorrow. And in terms of severe weather, like I said, we will be keeping an eye on this upcoming trough as we go to October 20th, 21st, 22nd. We could end up with the potential for severe weather somewhere generally in this area. We'll also keep an eye on that area for the rest of October because some models do point towards severe weather being possible in that area. But that is going to be it for this live stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I don't know when I'm going to be live next, but I'll probably end up being live. What's today? Monday, Tuesday. So Wednesday, we'll aim for a live stream Wednesday. I may or may not have a video tomorrow. That depends on if there's enough confidence in a tropical storm forming. And that is going to be it. Yeah, Caleb, that's not going to work. But, yeah, that's going to be it. If you guys can, make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Share this channel with family, friends, social media. We are here all year round. And I'll try my best to keep you weather aware. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. And I will see you guys in Wednesday's live stream or potentially tomorrow's video. Have a great rest of your night. Goodbye. stay safe, watch severe weather in the tropics. I'll see you guys on Wednesday's live stream. Have a great rest of your night. Good.